So this article is interesting because this is one of those situations where you're real happy for Verizon because they're building out some new service, which is much needed service, by the way. This is a rural area that doesn't have enough coverage. And in many cases, we hear about customers complaining all the time that these carriers don't come out, won't build near them, and they're forced to use landlines or they have low or very poor coverage. We hear about this on the news all the time. They say, well, because of our poor wireless service, we're being put in these odd or obscure situations where we have to rely on our landlines. If something were to go wrong, we have no way to communicate with our family or friends or coworkers or whoever it is that we need to. But then at the same time, when solutions are offered, when deals are proposed, these are usually the same people that complain because they don't want to look at the towers. The towers are ugly. They're unattractive. It's ruining the scenery. And what they don't realize is, they live in these farms type secluded areas where there's not really anywhere to build. So when a company like Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile says that they're going to come out and connect you to service, especially when you're in a small town and it's very costly for them to do so, rather than get excited and be happy, they choose to fight it. They choose to take legal action on it in some way and discourage these carriers from building out. But then when they don't build out, they're also criticized for not doing so. So this is like one of those weird situations where this is kind of what we're dealing with. So a 120-foot cell phone tower is the secret weapon that will help Verizon get rid of another dead zone. Of course, a place where there is no or low coverage. So dead zones and eliminating them is what Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T are supposed to do, provide coverage to their customers. So it looks like they're going to be building out this huge new cell tower on a property on Lasher Court, Pennsylvania. This is Murraysville's, I think the Murraysville Council approved a conditional use permit for Verizon and the contractor to erect the tower plus more infrastructure like fences. This is great news for everyone who regularly travels the Salzburg Road in Murraysville. There is a persistent coverage map or gap where Verizon cells are almost dropped at a place between Vermont and Ashball roads, they're saying. So throughout that time, during those roads, coverage is gone. And that's a problem, right? That's a problem. That's a huge dead zone area. They're saying that someone here by the name of Joe Cortez, who represented both Verizon and the contractor, explained that they initially hoped to share space on an existing structure in line with local regulations. However, there were no suitable tall structures within a 2-mile radius. They're saying that the law requires structures like water towers to be shared with telcos if they exist within a quarter mile, but none were available. So Cortez pointed out, looks like he pointed out in the past that cell towers were mostly built along interstates. He noted that while large towers in areas like Monroeville, Greensboro, Green Tree, and Cranberry were once used mainly for voice calls, that's no longer the case. With the evolution of wireless networks, particularly the transition to 5G, voice communication has become a smaller part of network traffic. They're saying, with remote work and mobile entertainment, they need more. There's more demand. These are towns that want tourists to come. They want them to spend money so that the town itself can make money. So it is essential to have strong 5G coverage now. This is just the way it works. He also cited that over 74% of households in the U.S. rely solely on wireless service. The proposed tower would sit at least 200 feet away from any property line, with the closest home approximately 850 feet from the installation site. This, of course, did not sit well at the council meeting. A resident asked if anything could be done to prevent 5G technology from being used on the tower. So Cortez and council members explained that federal regulations under the 1996 Telecommunications Act limit local authority. Municipalities cannot block wireless service that addresses health and safety needs. Cortez added that the tower's coverage will play a crucial role in making sure emergency calls to 911 connect reliably within the current 1 square mile coverage gap. So here we have residents complaining that they don't want the service near them, that they don't want the tower near them. Some of them are afraid of health concerns. We know that whole thing with 5G is going to kill us all. And many of them, they just don't like the look of it. They don't want to look out their window and see a tower. And I'll admit, in some cases, it's maybe not the most attractive thing to have in your backyard, although many of us wouldn't mind it because we would get speeds, you know, we would get amazing speeds. But for these residents, it's just not their thing, right? That's why they live out in the country. They're comfortable with their landlines until something goes wrong. Then they want to be like everybody else, and they want to be able to use their laptops and their desktops and have fast internet speeds. And when they're doing FaceTime on their phone, they want fast speeds, but yet they don't want to make any adjustments to their lifestyle. You know, you got to let these carriers build out. When they come to your town, if you live in small towns, very rural communities, and you don't have a lot of options, you have to realize, and there's not a lot of people, you have to realize that when these carriers are willing to do the work and to come out, take advantage of it, because there's many rural communities that are not getting the coverage. The nearest tower is 10 miles away, and it's a problem, right? You're not getting the connectivity that you need or that you want, and that's an issue. So that's the thing. I don't understand why people complain about it. I mean, I get they're not the most attractive things to have in your backyard, but then again, these are the same folks that will complain when they don't have good coverage. So that's why I say this is one of those weird situations that, we don't hear about them as much, but I remember doing a couple of these types of stories, about a year ago or so. It was just constant whining from these small town localists that at the board meetings throw their hat on the floor and stomp their feet because they don't want to look at the towers, but they're the same ones that whine and complain when coverage isn't good. So it's like they want their cake and they want to eat it too, but there's just no way to do that. You have to sacrifice if you want good coverage. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.